Hey friends, I have my fourth layout to share for my creative scrapbook, and it is full of simple stories. And I wanted to, first I'm going to start with some mixed media. I am using my new favorite spatulas from Tonic. They have a rubber tip on them, so easy to clean. Love them. And I am just applying some white gesso, and I'm doing that because one, the mixed media, and two, it's kind of fading out some of that pattern on the background because I'm going to come in with the stamps that came in the kit. Super cute stamps. They have like wreath shapes, and I'm going to heat emboss on the background as well. So I have these two pictures that I took of flowers at this craft show that my mother and I were at, and I don't end up using both of them. The blue one, even though it's my favorite photo, it didn't really match the collection. It was just too bright. But I don't realize that until later. So I'm backing the photos with some white cardstock, and there you see the stamp set there that came in the kit, and I think they're super cute just to add to the background. This layout took quite a few turns, and it ends up being not at all what I anticipated or what I had planned ahead, which is fine because, you just go where the creative journey takes you. So I am distressing the edges of my photo mats and the background paper. Actually, this layout, it was the first layout that I actually created with the kit. It just, in terms of how I edited, and this was just the last one I got to. So I liked how the colors in the reddish flower, pinkish flower, it matched the paper that you see there on the left hand side, and it also matched a lot of the flowers that came in the kit. And even though I added mixed media and I stamped on the background, it ends up getting covered up quite a bit. I really wanted to incorporate these frames, and I love the size of them, and you don't have to use them as frames. You can just use them as layers underneath. And you can see there, I am trying to make them work, but I just couldn't figure out a way to incorporate them that I liked. So I had planned to mat the background on this paper just because, like I said, it coordinated with my photo. And I thought I would add some mixed media and incorporate the pretty flowers that came in the kit. But yeah, at some point during the process, things just changed. See, I didn't just want to mat it. It's been done, and it's still a great design, and especially if you're showcasing a mixed media background and these gorgeous flowers, it probably would have looked just as beautiful, but I felt like I wanted to do something different, and it was definitely out of the norm for me in terms of how it was finished in terms of what I came up with. See all those pretty flowers? I love them, and I like that they're all different sizes, and I like that they have stems on them. And so then I started going through the embellishments and realizing that there were a lot of those similar color embellishments. So I thought, why don't I just do monochromatic layout? See, and I wanted to add those chipboard letters that say lovely, but if I added those, then I needed to incorporate some of the other colors in the collection, and I struggled with it. I actually struggle quite a bit when I first get a kit because I want to use it all, and I've got all these ideas in my head about what I wanted to do. So sometimes trying to hone in on a specific plan is a little challenging for me. I'd love to know, am I the only one? Let me know in the comments below if you struggle with that too. If you are a kit subscriber, whether it's my creative scrapbook or not. Yeah, I do find it hard. So I took out the flowers and I was like, okay, let me start stamping. And I thought I would stamp in black, but then it seemed like it might be a little too harsh. So I thought, I'm going to break out some embossing powder. And I spent a lot of time creating this background, and then you'll see it gets covered up, which is the norm. We all know that. I mean, if you do mixed media on your layouts, you know that the majority of it tends to get covered up. That powder right there that you saw me playing with is from Lindy's Stamp Gang. It's one of their magical shaker things, and it's the only one that I own. And I just bought one because I wanted to try it out. And I love the way that they work, and I love that color. I actually have an embossing powder that is from Lindy's that is in a very similar color. So I go through with that, and I add some shimmers. You see those bottles there. One is Pop Art Pink, which I mentioned before is my all-time favorite. It's a light pink with gold shimmer in it. And then there's another one called, Pretty Pink. I don't know. But here is where I decided I am going to emboss. So what I was doing there was prepping it with my anti-static powder tool. And what that does is it allows you to stamp, and then when you put the embossing powder on there, it's not going to stick to places that you don't want it. And then you saw me test it. I just dumped a bunch of it on there before stamping because I wanted to make sure that the mixed media was dry. If it's not dry, then it is definitely going to stick everywhere, and not only where you stamped it. So I stamped with my Versamark ink, which is a sticky clear ink. It's slow drying. So you stamp with that. Make sure you clean your stamp real good, and then you pour the embossing powder on. And so the embossing powder was from Lindy's Stamp Gang also, and it's called Geranium Coral Blush. And it's definitely got some shimmer in it. And I just stamped, I think, 2 or 3 of the images in a vertical pattern. And then I was just thinking, I like the way this looks, but I'm going to try something different. Step out of my comfort zone. So that is what I'm doing. I have seen this done before in sort of variations. Yeah, you see all that work is now covered up, but it's okay because it still peeks out. The stamping is not really noticeable, but I love the stamp set and I will use it again. So I just cut a long triangle out and then distress the edges, and I end up making that space wider. And I'm curling back some of the edges because I still needed to get my photo in there. And I also wanted to tuck some embellishments in and around my photo. So I cut a little bit more off and distressed it again. And yeah, it was back and forth. I'm happy with the way that it turned out. Obviously, it's kind of like this clean surface, and then you peel it open, and there's this grungy, messy inside. Does that make sense? It also was a little painful to cut up that paper because it had all those gorgeous butterflies on the back. But there were so many in the die cut pack and the chipboard, so there was still plenty to work with. So then I thought, though, in order to incorporate more of those butterflies, I would take the section that I cut out and trim it and distress it and glue it. So you'll see there, I'm gluing it to the edges, almost like curtains. Like you're opening the curtains to the pretty flowers and the mixed media. That's kind of the idea that was going on in my head. It might sound a little silly. That's just a sliver that I cut off, and it was a little difficult to glue, but I managed to get it on there. And you also noticed a moment ago that I added fun foam to the back of the large reddish script paper, so it would be easier for me to tuck the photo and other embellishments in. There I am adding that layer. So the left side has 3 and the right side only has 2. But then I make up for that with some of the embellishments on the right hand side. So I thought about doing all butterflies or turning the middle one around so it was that red script, but I felt like there was a lot of that red color going on already. So it's kind of different for me. I've never used such a busy paper as my background, which technically it's not my background because I did mixed media on my background. But when you look at it, that's essentially the bulk of the layout is that reddish script paper. And so it's unusual for me to use such a busy, dark paper as the majority of my layout. But I like how it opens up into the photo and the embellishments. So I am taking some of those flowers that are in a similar color and just tucking them in. And I thought about using my tiny attacher to staple those, I want to call them drapes, back, but I don't end up doing that. I pulled out the butterflies that were in the die cut pack, and I'm going to layer those on top. I'm not tucking those in. And then I just take some of the stickers from the sticker sheet and chipboard and I layer them around my photo. It is kind of sad now that I'm looking at this, all this stamping got covered up for the most part. But you know what? That's the fun with stamps because you can use them over and over again. And I will definitely use them again. And not cover them up next time, perhaps. I took a lot of those butterflies and I layered them because they come in different sizes, and that's just creates more dimensions. So I created, I think, 4 or 5 clusters of them. So some of them have 2, some of them have 3. And I believe that I actually stitched those down the center before I attach them to my layout. So other than, I'm going to add some pop dots to, the butterflies down below. Other than just adding some stickers and my title and journaling, that's pretty much my layout. I know I haven't glued everything down yet. I do go back and forth quite a bit with the embellishments down at the bottom and the ones around my photo. Just trying to decide what I liked the most. I think I spend the most time creating my first layout of the kit. Just like I said, there's all these ideas running through my head, and and it's funny because in my last video I mentioned that I wasn't too confident about this kit, and that's not often that I feel that way. But I made it work and I'm really happy with the way this came out. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I really appreciate you watching and I hope that you were inspired to create something similar. Thank you so much, and I will be back soon with another layout. Thanks again. Have a great day. Bye.